think right now there are still a lot of people who say things like, well, the one-child policy was kind of cruel in some ways, but, at the same time, we should all have a global one-child policy. We don't say things like, well, World War I and II, oh, such a terrible toll on humanity. Hey, but on the other hand, it did save the carbon footprint. We don't say things about slavery like, oh, slavery was awful, but at the same time, it did increase agricultural production. We don't say these things because we realize the toll on humanity, that history has given us enough evidence to sort of judge what this means. We haven't really begun to assess the damage or the consequences or any of this impact. So I think that's what I want the book to start, the conversation. Not only is there a first generation of only children, you now have the only children having their only children. So that has changed the structure of how we view family, how we revere our elders, how we view women versus men. I was myself at that point, been working for a while, been trying to get pregnant, been trying to start a family and experiencing difficulty. And at the same time when this was happening to me, I was covering the Sichuan earthquake, where I interviewed many families who had lost their only child. So I felt a juxtaposition between my personal struggles with fertility and people's struggles with the end of their family line was a really good launch point to talk about the whole country's experiment with fertility. Late last year, the Chinese Communist Party announced a change in a policy. They are now moving to a nationwide two-child policy now. Demographically speaking, it may not make a significant change because the kind of side effects that have been caused by the one-child policy, which has been running for the past 30-something years, is that it's created a nation that is too male and too old and too few. You cannot have 30-something years of propaganda promoting the one-child family as the ideal without some of it sticking. That sense of being female, of being Chinese, you have to fight a little bit harder to get respect. I was constantly always being mistaken for the foreign correspondent's girlfriend, or the translator, or the interpreter. I think the difficulty was making this story come alive through people, not just numbers. So that was what I wanted to do. You need somebody to be the central character, to sort of be the spirit guide, to hold the reader's hand throughout all these many stories that you're writing. And I didn't have that central character. So in the end, I decided that central character was me. I was the constant presence. And so that involved, in a sense, writing myself into the story, writing my own struggles with infertility, writing about my experiences trying IVF in China, writing about my own miscarriage. These were very personal, private issues. Working all this into the book was really hard for me. Writing myself in was probably the hardest part, like taking your clothes off in public.